Hello, today I thought I'd take a look at Fright Flicks, which was a TOPPS trading card set um, produced in a time when horror was really, really big in the 1980s. It featured movies such as Aliens, the first three, Freddy Krueger movies, Pumpkinhead featuring a different name, Predator, Fright Night, stuff like that. Um, Now, I only have these two wax packs. Of course, it's Fright Night and Predator. It's a cool Predator picture. They also produced two other wax packs, Freddy Krueger and Pumpkinhead. Um, Now, Topps released the trading card set in the United States. I live in Canada, so I got the O-PEE-CHEE set, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So the trading cards are basically images from popular horror movies of the time that kids were into. It was a different time, right? So kids' movies weren't the big industry they are today. Disney took a big hold on that, and everyone tried to copy Disney and couldn't do it. So horror movies were a big thing for us, and movies that challenged us were really, really big. Stuff with a lot of sex and violence that would probably be frowned upon today to show kids. These cards were images of horrific things with funny captions, and then on the back of them was some sort of urban legend, and we'll talk about that. So let's begin. And I might split this up into parts. We'll see how this one goes. So here is the first card. Let me get these out of the way. And so here's the first card, and of course, Freddy Krueger was super popular at the time. This is a copyright of the fourth New Line. So that's I guess what New Line was called back then. All rights reserved. So that's Freddy Krueger. O-PEE-CHEE card set. So O-PEE-CHEE had some small differences compared to the TOPPS trading card set. So it was 101 cards. The TOPPS card set had a base of 90 cards, and then they redid the numbering from the stickers, whereas the O-PEE-CHEE set included the stickers as part of the cards, so it went up to 101 cards, or 11 stickers. On the back, it's an urban legend. Now, these I think were a green background for the TOPPS cards. For the O-PEE-CHEE, it's blue. And it tells you what the image you just saw on the front is from. It's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Now, these urban legends are interesting nowadays because nowadays I find internet horror and horror in general hinges on this idea of horror purporting to be real. Kayfabe horror, I call it. But, not just found footage, but also based on true event and ghosts caught on camera and creepy stories that are done in a marathon row on YouTube that you listen to when you want to go to sleep or something like that. This is in that vein. It's the 1980s, so there's no internet to properly look anything up with. So what they would do was they put in all these details to make you think that it was real, and that was the psych out. So for example, they would have like dates and specific names and places. So this one, the meteor of October 20th, 1956, hadn't seemed odd to the people of Shadyville, Maine. But 3 days later, a green fungus began to cover everything in town. After 3 weeks, it was necessary to burn the town down to halt the spreading menace. That sounds like a creep show, to be honest with you, but you could see what I mean. They would put in details. One that bored afternoon, I actually looked up details of these things on the internet. I was like, let me see. And there's nothing because it's all made up. Man, that soup is hot. So that's from Fright Night. On December 30th, 1907, the USS Alaska spotted a metal disc-shaped craft floating on the ocean. The captain called to the craft to ask if they needed help. All he heard was a whirling, humming sound. Moments later, the disc slipped below the waves. Dun dun dun. And I'd read these things and get the creeps and stuff like that. That was the whole idea of this stuff. This was totally marketed to children. Which brings this up. So this stuff would be really, really frowned upon today. TOPPS did produce stuff like Mars Attacks, Dinosaur Attack, stuff like that. Before this set, there were two card sets. One was, I think it was called Creature Features, and another one, I think their first one was called Funny Monsters. And it was images of Universal monster movies and stuff with funny captions. So this is sort of the modernized version for the 80s. And this is copyright Dead Films, 1985. This is Day of the Dead. Gotta quit this nail-biting habit. There you go. That's kind of funny. So here it says Day of the Dead. Seconds before the thief could murder Jack Hume, a third person entered the Brooklyn alley. The stranger raised his hands and a bolt of lightning struck the thief, stunning him. Hume looked for his rescuer to thank him, but he had vanished into the night. A lot of these types of urban legend things are repeated nowadays in high-tech fashion for our time on caught on video type of things. Like you'll see someone with like supernatural powers, like is it real, or like a ghost or whatever, or like maybe this military branch saw an alien and it was caught kind of on tape and all that stuff, right? So this kind of thing is old as the hills, if you didn't know. Day of the Dead, it's funny, like this thing features a lot of Day of the Dead. I hadn't seen the movie at the time I watched, at the time I was collecting these cards, and I thought, wow, like this looks awesome, and I rented Day of the Dead based on this. I knew about Day of the Dead based on this. It's not like there's a lot of like marketing promotion that could reach you, because we didn't have like phones in our pockets that had hot and cold running internet, right? So yeah, a lot of the time, like I knew most of these movies except, like I knew Pumpkinhead, but I didn't really know Day of the Dead had come out really, till I got this card set. And really ought to stop gargling with kerosene. So this is Freddy Krueger, of course. On the afternoon of October 3rd, 1931, a loud, solemn voice came over radio station KUWG to the people of Orega, California. It warned, "Flee now while you can." An hour later, an earthquake struck. To this day, no one knows who broadcast the warning. And I looked up this call sign. I couldn't find it. Ghostbusters. I think this is the only card set, maybe I'm wrong, that features Ghostbusters, Predator, like the original Predator, and Poltergeist to this day. And it's pretty cool because there's a Ghostbusters 2 card set. I don't think there was a Ghostbusters 1. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, here's Slimer. I visit my dentist once a year. Unfortunately, he died. In the movie, a lot of this was seen as cheap and everything, but it looks moody into itself. It looks like its own style. It's pretty cool. Death to all who defile my tomb, read Pharaoh Rem Tut's warning, but the archaeologists who found it only laughed. 1 year later, all of the members of the expedition were dead, killed by the same mysterious virus that had killed the pharaoh. Dun dun dun. Remember, this is a kid's trading card set. That's from Day of the Dead. Doc, how do I get ahead in this life? Har har. Jimmy March, age 5, was missing from his New Jersey home. Using Morse code, a psychic horse, Thunderbolt, tapped out the boy's location. Okay. On October 6, 1948, 3 days after disappearing, Jimmy was found where the horse predicted. Okay. That's a lot to to make up if you're making that up. Pumpkinhead, but under a different name. You'll see. So this is copyright 1988 MGM and United Artists. Baby, You're the Greatest. This was a great design and a great puppet. So it's called Vengeance of the Demon. This confused the heck out of me as a kid. I knew it was Pumpkinhead. I was like, why is it called? Was there another movie called Vengeance of the Demon before Pumpkinhead? Oh my god, but it's the original name of Pumpkinhead. In January of 1948, the police at Oslo, Norway, received an urgent cry for help from the nearby town of Yangford. When they got there, they were unable to stop the townspeople who were in a trance from walking into the sea and drowning. Yeah, look that up. It's BS. Talk about obscene phone calls. That's cool. That's from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Jenny Simpson was old and an invalid. Johnny Brown thought it would be easy to rob her. One night he climbed through a window. Immediately a Great Dane grabbed him and drove him from the house. But Jenny Simpson has never owned a dog. Dun dun dun! Oh, it says here, name's fictional. See disclaimer on wrapper. Yeah, there you go. They're trying to cover themselves here. So it really is fictional, but they psych you out by putting so much detail in it. You're like, oh, did it happen? I don't know. It's meant for 10-year-olds and stuff, right? This is a great shot of the fly. Okay, who took a bite out of my bran muffin? It's a copyright 1986, 20th Century Fox. All rights reserved. Harrison Lewis was as surprised as anyone when he saw his dog Lucky come to his rescue on September 8, 1952. Lucky beat off a pack of wolves which had attacked Lewis, a pack which only 3 days before had fatally wounded the dog. Oh yes, the dog came back to life and drove off the wolves, or I don't know, whatever. Darn, now I'll have to learn shorthand. That's from American Werewolf in London. Copyright 1985, Columbia Pictures Industries, Inc. All rights reserved. Did it ever happen? When Nick Briggs of Newark, New Jersey, was murdered in bed one stormy night in April 1933, police were able to arrest the killer immediately. The Lightning had taken a photograph of the murder, which appeared on the room window. That's an interesting idea. I'm sure it's lifted from something else. These are, what's great about this card set is, at the time, we didn't have DVD and stuff, and not a lot of people had video, like VHS. And even if you did, the imagery on your TV wasn't very clear. We thought it was because we didn't understand what clear was. So these were great shots of these creatures and characters that you wouldn't get to see otherwise at the time. Now you can pause and get some great stuff and lift high definition, high resolution images off the internet. But back then you couldn't. So this is copyright 1986, 20th Century Fox, all rights reserved. Open wide and say, ah. Did it ever happen? The rain was coming down harder, but Jack Roberts could see a small town ahead. One couple gave him shelter for the night. 2 weeks later, when in the same area, Robert decided to visit the town. Instead, Roberts only saw a cemetery. Dun dun dun. You know what's funny about these? They look like horror movie pitches, and there's 90 of them. And they're all cool, and you can spin off great stuff from them. Nowadays, horror's kind of bouncing back a bit last year, but nothing super original. I ordered a pizza, not a pizza face. referring to Freddy Krueger. Very disrespectful. Did it ever happen? A friend wishing to know how Paul Dickens wrote so prolifically was stunned when he saw Paul asleep at one end of the room and the typewriter typing by itself at the other end. Dun dun dun. This is from Nightmare on Elm Street, this image. I gotta stop hammering nails with my head. That's kind of funny. Copyright 1985, Columbia Pictures Industries, Inc. All rights reserved. This is Fright Night, right? Yeah. The janitor of the Houston Public Library would stroll through it after hours playing his violin. He died in 1962, but for days after his death, the sounds of far-off violin music could be heard floating through the library. Dun dun dun. That's cool. You didn't get to see him clearly that much in the movie. I mean, I guess you can now with Blu-ray and stuff. But this is from, I think it's from Poltergeist II. Copyright 1986, MGM Entertainment Company, all rights reserved. Do I get extra sauce with these ribs? He looks very wiggly here. Poltergeist II, yep. George Jackson's leg was pinned under a heavy marble column. He screamed for help, but only 5-year-old Ginger Winters heard him. Yet with no effort, she lifted the 2-ton column off the man's leg. Dun dun dun! It's superhuman strength. Must have been someone I ate. That's from Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Yeah, I gotta look this up. The Fourth New Line. I guess that's what New Line was originally called. The Fourth New Line Heroin Venture. All rights reserved. The pyramid had been sealed since the death of the pharaoh Ramses 15 in the year 354 BC. When it was opened in 1953 by members of the British Museum, they were stunned to find a wax candle still burning. Dun dun dun. Great shot of the predator here. Hi, I'm a new babysitter. That's pretty funny, actually. He was a large wolf, but he was no match for the hunters. Within moments, he was captured. The trappers were astonished when the next morning they found a man instead of a wolf in the cage. Dun dun dun! I've got a stake in your future. Now that's funny too, man. It's from Fright Night. In Terre Haute, Indiana, nobody paid any attention to the message painted on the sidewalk in front of the local high school. Remember Pearl Harbor. The slogan would have no meaning until 3 years later to the day on December 7th, 1941. Dun dun dun. Hey, who swiped my undershirt? It's Freddy Krueger yet again. On the afternoon of December 26, 1603, the skies over Devonshire, England turned red. People flocked to their churches to pray, but the skies stayed red for 3 days until a metallic yellow sphere crossed the sky, changing it back to blue. I guess the aliens made a mistake or something and came back to fix it. I don't know. Let your fingers do the walking. That's in reference to Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages was a phone book, kids. Back in the day, we would we would get it delivered to our house, and you can look up businesses and pizza and whatnot in the Yellow Pages. And their motto was let your fingers do the walking. I felt I had to explain that because that's completely foreign now. Boxer Marcel Dumas had lost his middleweight title to Rocky Valentine. The French champion vowed he would win it back or die. The plane carrying Dumas back to America crashed, killing all on board. Holy crap. Well, there you go. He died instead. He said or die, so... Better fix that broken window, Paul. A fly could get in. That's funny too, man. In 1958, a group of 3 cars crossing Great Salt Desert en route to California spotted a mirage of a wagon train. John Nelson decided to walk to the mirage to investigate. When it vanished, he disappeared with it. Well, then don't go traipsing off into the desert looking at mirages, man. Everyone knows better than that. Now don't get cross. Old Granny Wilson was rich and she lived alone. One night, a thief broke into her home. Leaving, he was attacked by a large panther, a panther which he later swore wore the same locket around its neck as Granny Wilson wore. She's a werepanther. Like, that's the explanation, man. Werepanther. Well, they make cat people. That's kind of a thing, too. I don't know why they don't make new cat people movies, but I guess it was too weird for people back then. I tell you that nuclear plant is safe. Yeah, that's a fly. The first national bank robbery on April 5th, 1878 failed. When the Dalton gang examined their haul, they were shocked to find only pebbles. They broke the money bags. They brought the money bags back and then hid to watch what happened. To their horror, the bags contained money when officers opened them. So some sort of like witchcraft or something. Eek, a mouse! That's the queen, like, looking sort of like apprehensive. So, the dream about the wagon train had been terrifying. Frank Thomas awoke in his Long Island home, but he could still see the Indians massacring the pioneers. He felt like screaming when he saw a real Indian arrow sticking in his mattress. Okay. Well, listen, man, vengeance. What do you want? Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Oh, yeah, I am. Well, he's more of a werewolf than a monkey, so... Because it's an American Werewolf in London. On September 23rd, 1880, Tennessee farmer David Long said goodbye to his wife and started across his field, turning to wave goodbye. To the horror of Mrs. Long, he faded away and was never seen again. Because he was always a ghost, I guess. She's not exactly a 10, but she's a perfect 1/10. And that's funny. In order to honor 2 men, a tomb sealed in 1841 was reopened in August 1943. The people of Barbados were horrified to find the coffin of Sir Evan McGregor had moved and the coffin of Alexander Irvine gone without a trace. Dun! And that's card number 25. I think I'll stop there and reconvene with 26 onward to 50. Till then, take care.